This is the seventh gate of Kammasaka Zen, known as the emptiness and the physical. This is Dharma talk number 6. It's the interconnection. It's a talk on the interconnection of the seventh gate, emptiness and the physical, the seventh ox herding picture, the ox forgotten, the self alone, the koan, Joshua's wash your bowl, the fifth step on the Eightfold Path, known as right living, and now also the third perfection, the perfection of patience. In Zen practice, the seemingly disparate elements of the teachings, koans and symbolic depictions, they form a cohesive whole, reflecting the universal nature of the Dharma. And in Kammasaka's seventh gate, emptiness and the physical, it invites us as practitioners to explore the profound interplay between the material and the formless. And this exploration is deeply resonant within the seventh ox herding picture as well. The ox forgotten, the self alone, where the ox, symbolizing the elusive truth of the self, it recedes into irrelevance as the seeker transcends duality. And then complementing these teachings, the koan of Joshua's wash your bowl, it emphasizes the simplicity and the immediacy of right living. Right living, which is a key aspect of the Noble Eightfold Path. And then the interplay. The interplay between these elements and the third of the Buddha's 6 perfections, the perfection of patience, known as Khasanti. It reveals an interconnected wisdom that guides the practitioner towards liberation, towards the freedom. The reconciliation of the seemingly opposite realms in this gate, it is symbolized in the physical and the formless. Because at first glance, the tangible and the intangible may appear distinct. But Zen practice illuminates their intrinsic unity. Emptiness in Zen is not a negation, but a realization of the interdependence and impermanence underlying all phenomena. And it's this understanding that transforms the perception of the physical world, the solidity of objects and experiences. They dissolve into a fluid interplay of just simply causes and conditions. And then through the lens of Kammasaka Zen, the practitioner is called to transcend the illusion of separateness. Now, this transcendence does not reject the physical, but integrates it into a holistic vision of reality. And the body becomes a vessel of awareness, not merely as an anchor in the material world, but rather a gateway to understanding the infinite. So in this sense, emptiness and physical, they're not opposites, but they're simply reflections of one another. They're a dance of form and void that leads to insight and emotional freedom, liberation. So the ox forgotten, the self alone, it reflects a pivotal moment in Zen. Pivotal moment, particularly in Zen practice, where the seeker no longer clings to the idea of an independent self or an external truth to be captured. The ox, a symbol of enlightenment or Buddha nature, has simply served its purpose. The practitioner's initial struggle to find and tame the ox, it simply dissolves into the realization that there was never anything to capture or control in the first place. And this image aligns beautifully with the seventh gate. So, the practitioner's body and mind, once perceived as separate entities, are now seen as an expression of the same emptiness. So the physical no longer obstructs the spiritual understanding, but is embraced as a part of the totality of existence. And it's in practical terms. This stage of practice fosters a profound sense of like just simply ease and presence. There's no longer a need to strive to categorize experience or sacred or mundane. Life just becomes a seamless flow, where even the most ordinary actions, eating, walking, resting, are simply imbued with the sacredness of being. And this mirrors the inside of the seventh gate, where the physical world becomes a mirror, reflecting the vastness of emptiness. So Joshua's instruction, wash your bowl, it captures the heart of Zen practice in its simplicity. And this koan arises in a conversation where the novice seeks guidance after finishing his meal. And instead of imparting complex philosophical teachings, Joshua directs the novice to a mundane task, infusing it with profound significance. So at its core, wash your bowl exemplifies the principle of mindfulness and simply the integration of practice into our daily existence, our daily life. So it reminds the practitioner that enlightenment is not found in lofty abstractions, but in the direct experience of the present moment. And Joshua's command echoes the seventh gate's call to reconcile emptiness with the physical. And the act of washing the bowl is no longer merely a chore, but a moment of awakening. Awakening where the tangible merges with the infinite. And this koan, it also intersects with the seventh ox herding picture, because the act of washing the bowl represents a return to simplicity. A return to simplicity after the complexities of seeking and striving. And just as the practitioner in the ox herding picture, he no longer clings to the ox, Joshu's student is directed away from intellectualization and is directed into the immediacy of the action. The foundational framework of Buddhist practice is the Eightfold Path. It serves as a guide for individuals towards ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom. Right living, the eighth step, it emphasises earning a livelihood in harmony with the principles of non-harming and ethical integrity. It calls for a life aligned with the Dharma, where one's actions contribute to the well-being of others and the cessation of suffering. So in the context of the seventh gate, right living becomes more than a prescription for ethical behaviour. It is an expression of the unity of emptiness and the physical. The choices one makes in livelihood and daily actions, they reflect the understanding that self and others are interconnected. To harm another is to harm oneself. To uplift another is to uplift the collective. And right living also resonates in the seventh ox herding picture. Joshu's koan, because both emphasise simplicity and authenticity, stripping away the layers of the ego and the presence that often complicates life. So when we are embracing right living, as practitioners, or the practitioner can live in alignment with their true nature, free from form and entanglements of greed, free from hatred and delusion. Now, patience, the third of the Buddha's six perfections, it is a cornerstone of the Bodhisattva path. It is not merely the endurance of hardship, but a profound acceptance of reality as it is. Patience cultivates equanimity, particularly in the face of adversity. And this allows the practitioner to respond with compassion and wisdom, rather than reactivity. So this perfection finds a deep resonance in the seventh gate. The understanding of emptiness, it fosters patience. And it fosters patience by dissolving the rigid boundaries of self and other, pain and pleasure, gain and loss. And when one recognises the impermanent and interdependent nature of all things, all phenomena, then there is less attachment to outcomes and a more openness to the simple unfolding of of life. So patience also plays a critical role in the journey depicted in the seventh ox herding picture. In this, the seeker's journey is marked by struggle and persistence. And yet it culminates in a state of effortless being. So as this transformation requires patience, not just with external challenges, but also with oneself, as old habits and attachments, they are gradually released. And Joshua's koan encapsulates this patience in its directive to simply wash the bowl. This mundane act becomes a practice of presence and acceptance, embodying the patience needed to simply integrate the teachings into everyday life. And similarly, right living demands patience from as one navigates the complexity of the ethical choices, particularly in a world that is now rife with challenges and temptations. The seventh gate, the seventh ox herding picture, Joshua's koan, right living, and perfection of patience, they are not isolated teachings, but they are all views of a single picture. And together, they guide us as practitioners towards a life of authenticity, simplicity, and interconnectedness. And then through the seventh gate, the practitioner learns to embrace the physical world as an expression of emptiness. And this insight is reflected in the seventh ox herding picture, where the seeker transcends the duality and rests in the simplicity of being. And then Joshua's koan grounds this understanding in the immediacy of daily life, and emphasizing that even the most ordinary actions, they are opportunities for awakening. So right living provides a practical framework for embodying these insights, ensuring that one's livelihood and actions are in harmony with the Dharma. And the perfection of patience sustains this journey, fostering the resilience and the equanimity that is simply needed to navigate the challenges of our practice in life. So in this interconnection, and it's in this interconnection of all these teachings that we find the essence of Zen, a path that dissolves boundaries, unites opposites, and brings the practitioner into direct contact with the truth of existence. And by integrating these teachings into our lives, we move closer to the heart of the Dharma, where emptiness and form, self and other, practice and realization, they merge into one.